It was a Friday evening when Daniel finally agreed to his co-worker's constant teasing. Ever since his wife passed away 3 years ago, he hadn't gone on a single date. He had buried himself in work and fatherhood, pouring every ounce of love he had into raising his 7-year-old daughter, Lily. To Daniel, she was his world, the only piece of his wife he still had left. His co-workers thought they were being funny. "Come on, Dan, live a little. We've got the perfect girl for you," they said. What he didn't know was that the so-called blind date was meant to be a joke. They had chosen a woman named Sarah, someone they'd seen once at a cafe, a woman who didn't fit society's narrow image of beauty. She was overweight, quiet, and soft-spoken. To them, it was all just harmless fun. But to Sarah, this night was something she had built up the courage to say yes to after years of self-doubt. The restaurant was a cozy place, filled with the scent of coffee and the soft hum of acoustic music. Daniel arrived in his usual modest way, clean shirt, nervous smile, and a heart still learning to hope again. He looked around, expecting a typical blind date. When he saw Sarah sitting by the window, nervously adjusting her dress and glancing at the door every few seconds, something about her instantly disarmed him. She looked anxious, yes, but there was kindness in her eyes. He walked over. "Hi, are you Sarah?" he asked softly. She blinked, surprised. "Yes." "You must be Daniel." Her voice trembled slightly, as if she wasn't sure she deserved to be looked at the way he was looking at her, with genuine warmth. He nodded and smiled. "I'm really glad to meet you." For a moment, Sarah looked down, unsure how to respond. No one ever said that to her without it sounding forced. But Daniel's voice carried something different, something true. They sat, ordered food, and started talking. It was awkward at first, the kind of small talk that stretches too long, but soon, Daniel found himself laughing. Not out of pity, not because he was trying to make her feel better, but because she was actually funny. Sarah had this dry, clever sense of humor that snuck up on you. She told him about her love of painting, how she worked as an art teacher at a community center, and how her students called her Miss Sunshine because she always wore bright colors. When Daniel talked about Lily, Sarah's eyes lit up. "You must be such a good dad," she said gently. He smiled, looking down at his hands. "I try. She's the best part of me." And then he told her about his late wife, about the nights he'd sat in the dark, wondering if he was enough for his daughter, if he'd ever feel whole again. Sarah didn't interrupt, didn't try to fill the silence. She just listened, really listened, with tears softly glistening in her eyes. Hours passed like minutes. The restaurant lights dimmed as the evening wore on. When the waiter brought the bill, Daniel insisted on paying. Outside, under the soft glow of streetlights, Sarah hesitated. "Thank you for tonight," she said quietly. "I know this probably isn't what you expected." Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" She swallowed hard. "Your friends, they told me. They said it was just a bit of fun, that you were probably too polite to walk away. I shouldn't have come. I should have known it was a joke." Daniel felt his heart twist. He could picture his co-workers snickering behind their phones, waiting for him to text them about the joke date. He could almost hear their laughter. But in that moment, all he could see was Sarah, her trembling lips, her red-rimmed eyes, her bravery for showing up even when the world had tried to make her feel small. He took a deep breath. "Sarah, look at me," he said softly. "If this was a joke to them, that says more about them than it does about you. But it wasn't a joke to me. I came here hoping to meet someone kind. And I did." Her tears fell freely now. "You don't have to say that to make me feel better." "I'm not," he said firmly. "You know, when my wife died, people looked at me like I was broken, like I was some sad story to pity. I hated that. Because I'm more than that. And so are you. You don't owe anyone an apology for existing the way you are. You are beautiful, Sarah. Not because I'm trying to be nice, but because I mean it. You've got this warmth, this strength that I haven't seen in a long time." She stared at him, silent. He smiled faintly. Those people who think it's funny to mock someone's body, or a single dad trying to find his way again, they've probably never known real love. Real love doesn't care about size, scars, or pasts. It cares about soul. And yours? It's the kind people spend a lifetime looking for. Sarah covered her mouth, trying to stifle a sob. The streetlight glimmered in her tears. No one's ever said that to me before. Daniel nodded, his own eyes misty. Then I'm glad I got to be the first. They stood there in silence, the city alive around them, cars passing, laughter echoing from nearby cafes, but for them, the world seemed still. Sarah smiled, for the first time that night, a real smile that reached her eyes. Before she turned to leave, Daniel said, "Hey, would you like to meet my daughter sometime? She loves painting. I think she'd adore you." Sarah blinked, caught between disbelief and hope. "You really mean that?" He smiled. "I wouldn't say it if I didn't." A small laugh escaped her lips. "Then, yes. I'd like that." That night, Daniel went home and found Lily already asleep, her tiny arms wrapped around the stuffed bunny her mom had given her years ago. He sat on the edge of her bed and whispered, "I think Daddy made a new friend tonight, sweetheart." Over the next few weeks, Daniel and Sarah met again, sometimes for coffee, sometimes at the park with Lily. What started as a cruel setup slowly bloomed into something honest, something healing. Sarah taught Lily how to paint sunsets. Lily, in return, told Sarah all about her mom, not with sadness, but with love. And Daniel, he found himself smiling again, not because he was trying to move on, but because his heart was remembering how to beat freely. Months later, one of Daniel's co-workers spotted him at a community art fair. He was standing beside Sarah and Lily, holding their hands, laughing as Lily showed off her little canvas. The co-worker froze, guilt washing over him as he realized the cruel joke had turned into something genuine, something beautiful. When Daniel noticed him, he didn't glare or look away. He simply smiled, nodded, and turned back to Sarah, helping her hang another painting, a portrait of a father and daughter beneath a sky of orange and gold. That night, as they walked home together, Sarah looked up at Daniel. "Do you ever think about that first night?" she asked. He chuckled softly. "All the time." "Do you ever wish it had happened differently?" He thought for a moment, then shook his head. "No. Because if it hadn't happened exactly that way, I might never have found you." She smiled, eyes shining. "You always know what to say." He looked at her, his voice gentle. "That's because you finally made me remember what it feels like to say something that matters." As they reached his front porch, Lily ran ahead, laughing. Daniel watched her, then turned to Sarah. "You know, sometimes life sets us up for heartbreak, only to surprise us with grace." That night, what they meant as a joke turned out to be the best gift I could have received. Sarah reached for his hand, and he took it without hesitation. The world around them was quiet, painted in the soft glow of the porch light. There were no grand gestures, no dramatic music, just two people who had found something real in a place they least expected it. And in that stillness, with his daughter's laughter echoing from inside the house, Daniel whispered, "You're home now." For the first time in years, his heart felt whole again. And the joke that was meant to humiliate two people had instead written the beginning of a love story, one that would remind anyone who heard it that kindness, not appearance, is what makes a person truly beautiful.